What's up, everybody? It's Hotline League episode 116. Little Aggie edition as Spectrum Internet is still not fixing our internet 3 weeks after this. It's overloaded. Everybody's dealing with it here in LA. Scar was tweeting about it. So we're not sponsored by Spectrum for this episode because, yeah. Either way, but we are sponsored by Alienware. Shout out to them. Thank you so much to Alienware. We got Mark Zimmerman here, my constant co-host. How's it going, Mark?
I'm tweeting. My brain doesn't have the power to do this and to answer that question.
Your brain
I
had the
physically
power
stopped typing while I said that.
Let me know when you're done typing. We'll just wait patiently.
If only there was like another person on the show that could talk while I
you always
did
go
something
constant
else.
co-host Mark Zimmerman, and then we go to the guest. And I'm not willing to change the formula for the intro to the show.
I can be the co-host.
Is your tweet
just
done?
be my co-host now. You can pull all the callers. You can get my paycheck if you do all my work for this episode.
Oh yeah, because I know how to do all that stuff, so I got it.
Listen,
This won't be a disaster.
are you done, Mark?
No, because you're distracting me. You're not actually helping.
Oh my God! Okay. Pr0lly's here. Pr0lly, how's it going?
It's going, just living my best life playing video games all day.
What's it been like for you doing the LCS from your bedroom?
Not too bad. It is funny though, since I'm not. Oh my.
Oh, text. Who is it?
Oh.
We have a rule on this show that if you get a text, you have to read that out loud.
Yes.
Oh, it's mentioned by Mark Zimmerman.
Oh God.
Oh.
What an exciting
You got my
text.
hopes up.
Either way, sorry, continue. LCS from home. How's it?
Yeah. So a big difference is usually in the studio we have some kind of like physicality. I can understand people, but when we're online, every time Dash opens his mouth, Mark obviously thinks that Dash is talking to him. So Mark just talks. So that's interesting, and that's a difference between online and on a studio.
Is that true, Mark?
I will say the knowing when to talk and like having visual cues makes it a lot harder, especially when you're having a show that is not supposed to feel like a podcast, so it's definitely a little bit weirder, but we're getting better. We're getting there. We're figuring it
I feel
out.
like the cone prevents us from seeing the cat.
I just got to angle it a little bit more and make sure it's out of the way. This is more important than being able to hear me.
Because he seems to not really care about it, or has he just gotten used to it?
It took like a day or two to get used to it, but now he doesn't.
This is my life now. He's just accepted it.
Yeah, he's all about it.
Yeah. Well, how have you been, Mark? You want to? I didn't get a chance to intro you because you were tweeting, but now the tweet's done. So tell me about it.
I think this speaks pretty well for my state of mind. I started doing a puzzle while drinking screwdrivers with Ashley last night.
Who won?
Well, you don't win puzzles. They're a collaborative building effort. It was only 252, and we only got the outside frame done. We did none of the inside pieces. So that's where I'm at.
Aren't there like a million other video games? Like you could be playing Animal Crossing with her.
You can't. No, I would have to buy another Switch then.
You guys only have one Switch?
Yeah.
Oh, come on, Mark. I pay you enough. You couldn't.
You can't like put it up on the screen and then both of you guys have a controller.
No,
it is. You need two different Switches so that you can play together.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not co-op. We've talked about doing co-op games. We'll probably do them at some point, but
All right. Well, whatever. Anywho,
how about you?
Me?
Yeah.
It's been an interesting week for sure. It's been an interesting week.
Oh yeah.
But let's talk about Team Liquid. 9th place.
What the fuck?
That's
predicted.
Wild.
It doesn't really make sense that that's the second worst team in the league.
I mean, I just love it wasn't until I knew that they didn't make playoffs, but it wasn't until I just saw your tweet just now that I knew. Like in my mind, I'm like, yeah, surely. Like I just assumed like 8th or 7th place. Obviously, even though that doesn't make any sense because there were tiebreakers for who would make it in. Clearly, those teams would be the ones that would be above. 9th place.
Yeah, it's not. Oh, we missed playoffs. We were the second worst team in the league.
Behind CLG, who had like a historically bad start. Like I think halfway through the split, they had like CLG, do you think has the worst start to a split in a post-franchising era? Like we're going back to like velocity levels
and Coast. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
like that's real bad. Twitch chat right now spamming the "when you're chasing greatness" meme, which I absolutely love.
And like to add insult to injury, this has also been like the weirdest kind of split where it does seem like other than C9, every team was figuring it out.
Yeah,
It wasn't really like we had a whole bunch of teams that are like consistent and you just couldn't break into that and they had like a rough start. It was like, dude, everyone's just beating everyone.
no, I mean,
unless you're C9.
I think like halfway through the split, there was a question about whether or not EG would even make playoffs, and they finished second place. Like there was so much room for any team to like succeed.
I had a joke tweet where I was like, man, after watching like the Immortals versus Dignitas game, it's no surprise Team Liquid is struggling to make playoffs. And like these are the 6th and 7th place team in an hour-long Ocean Soul game that they're fucking losing.
Ocean Soul's not that strong, you know?
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
So by the way, we are voting all the different folks who have access to... Wait, am I allowed to say that I have it?
To the player, the MVP and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about it on the dive that we recorded today.
Okay. I don't know. Well, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that I'm part of it. Let's just say that I may or may not be part of this. But
You've been a part of it every split.
The people... The people who do vote in this should know that... or the people who do vote in this are now able to start voting in it. And I don't know if I'm in it or not. We'll find out. We'll all find out together. But,
well, then how do you know they're able to vote?
Sources have told me.
So,
okay. Okay. Hang on. The rules are only that I
You
have to
can't
hold
say
off
who.
on. Okay, I can only hold off on saying. Okay, so I can officially say I'm part of the voting committee as I always have been. But so I think this show in particular, we can have a lot of people call in and make their pitches. I'm actually down to have people pitch us on, because I doubt you haven't voted yet, Mark, right?
Nope, not yet.
Because I think the ballots haven't come out, or maybe they just came out or something. I don't know.
I have an email. I haven't clicked it yet though because I'm lazy.
Well, regardless, so I'm down to have people pitch us. So as I just bring this up now because I think a lot of people start thinking about their takes and questions and all that stuff beforehand. But lots to talk about. But let's maybe spend some more time on the TL stuff before we start taking calls. Mark and Pr0lly, question for you. This is my new theory. I want to put this out
I'm glad
there.
I'm an afterthought on the show.
I want to put this out there. Should TL trade Broxa for Smithy?
No.
Really?
I think it'd be funny.
I mean, we talked about it a little bit on the dive.
Yeah, which by the way, I had messaged you beforehand and said I want to talk about this on Hotline League. This is my spicy conversation. And then I hear Kobe from the other room going like, hey. But I'm not allowed to flame Kobe tonight because he got the Panda Express for us tonight. So, but regardless,
Okay.
I had the idea before I heard it on the dive.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this comes out before tomorrow too. So,
yeah.
But I think it might have. They would have got playoffs with Smithy, I think, but they wouldn't be like beating EG or 100 Thieves or C9 or anything. So I think it would have been a little bit better with Smithy, but not significantly.
Danon says, would IMT bench Ica or Soaz? I mean, I think they could sub out Ica for Broxa.
I mean, in this world where these trades aren't bound by salaries and things like that, presumably you could get Broxa and DeMonte or something in your magical hypothetical world.
I mean, I assume Steve would, if Steve wanted this, he could pay money to Immortals to get Smithy's contract.
I mean, that was the missing ingredient in TL this split.
No, but okay, here's what it is. I think a lot of people look at that team and they think they just don't trust each other. They don't have the chemistry right now. Like, and by the way, I want to preface this to say, like, I'm not saying this because I think Broxa is bad or a bad fit or a bad player. I actually really like Broxa. I think he had some stand-up moments. I think he looked about as good as almost anybody on that team did this split. Let's put it that way, right? Like, you could go find bad moments and you can find good moments, and I think you could say that about literally any of the players on that team. And so I thought about Broxit. It's more like everyone on that team just seems so mentally boomed. And so if you just were like, we're going to just bring back the roster that you won 2 years with, if you are trying to fix mental boom, I feel like that may be the best way to do it.
I mean, do you think Team Liquid is like romanticizing how they were with Smithy and being like, oh,
I don't think that the players are all like, if only we had Xmithy here, but I feel like the chemistry is just fucked. And if Xmithy walks into a scrim, sits down, and it suddenly starts to feel like it did a year ago, maybe. Because like, the problem is, how do you fix that fucking team now, right? Like, who are you supposed to trade? What are you supposed to do? Like, people look at people could make an argument, I think, about any of those players getting traded, any of the coaches. Like, there's no clear solve for this. The solve, I feel like, is a chemistry thing. And so by going back and bringing them like the happy memories of before with that same lineup, I think it's something worth discussing. You know,
I mean, I'm somewhat in the camp about sometimes you just need a change of scenery, and that really sucks. But like, you need some way to mentally reset, because the worst thing would be like you load back in, you know, after taking some time off, you go to your first scrim set and you lose, and it's the exact same feeling as spring. So I definitely agree, if they have the means to and can actually make a reasonable move of some kind, Team Liquid should probably look into it. But I don't think, like, players feel the hardest to move.
I mean, I think one thing was the pre-season lack of boot camp they did. I mean, I know like boot camps aren't like the end all be all, but if you have a brand new roster and you can actually spend a couple weeks like unencumbered by having to win or needing to know strategy, and you guys are just like practicing kind of, you know, with a much more relaxed, like fun atmosphere, and then you learn that way. I think that's pretty important compared to like the first time you guys are like working is, you know, 5 days before LCS.
And I mean, they weren't even working 5 days before LCS because they didn't have Broxit, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and that makes it worse.
That's the thing. I think that team, I don't think it's synergy issues. I think it's literally just mental boom. And Twitch chat right now is like, imagine Travis thinking that they should sub out their jungler before Impact, or before they should sub out Double Lift, or before they should sub, like, everyone had, like, this is the very funny thing, is that the audience all, and the community all kind of agrees TL was bad. But every single person, I feel like, has a different person that they're pointing a finger at. Like, all the different audiences, like, it's Double's fault, it's Jensen's fault, it's Brox's fault, it's the coach's fault. Like, I guess I don't hear too many Core JJ ones, but even then people feel like Core JJ had some like boomer moments. And so I just think it's interesting because, like, how do you fix that team for next split? And I don't know, I think you have to figure out how to like mentally reset them.
I think it's a lot easier when you have this kind of break, because you can actually have an honest conversation of how you want to approach it next. The way they came in, and like Broxy came in week 4, right?
Yeah. I think. Let's go with that.
So one big criticism I had on TL was like, Broxy coming in late sucks. But the one thing you can at least do is you can like hyper focus on one play style or one draft you can play. So at least you have that, because you know you're 4 weeks, maybe more behind everyone else. So at least get something down. But I never really saw that with TL, where it's like, cool, they can play one comp, and once it's banned out, they suck. But at least they can play one comp. Like, so
fix it, Travis. It's not. I can. I mean, like, you think back to those like conversations they had with the Senna pick. It was like, oh yeah, it's bad, but we're learning this champ because we might need it later. It's like, or you're so bad that you never get the chance to use it later.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, what do you guys think the chances are? Sorry, go ahead, Pr0lly.
And I do see the you 100% fire the coach. And the only thing I'll say about coaching, because for this roster, if you have a player who believes Spring Split is worthless, if they have a belief and not like putting their all into something, that's hard to change. You can change someone's opinion about something, but you know, people kill for beliefs. They'll die for their beliefs. It's like, to change their belief in what they're doing is not serious.
Well, I mean, especially Peter, who is one of the most stubborn
Yeah.
people I know. You know what I mean? Like, you don't
Yeah.
get to be like, oh, well, what if you just believe differently? It's like,
Yeah, why don't you just change it? And he's also like the big star of the team too. It's not
Yeah.
like some backup guy was staying didn't care about spring.
like I've been kind of quiet about all this stuff. It's like complicated because he's my friend, so it's not just a matter of people will be like, oh, he doesn't want to flame his friend or something like that. It's also a matter of like when I say something, people think that like I have some sick insider information because Peter and I have talked about something or whatever. I just think like the thing I have told him is like I feel like he just played this split so poorly from like a brand
Every
standpoint.
perspective.
You know what I mean? Like it obviously he couldn't anticipate that he was going to get sick and all that stuff, but or that like the Broxus shit would get as bad as it got or whatever. But just like the spring split doesn't matter thing is just going to echo with him. I feel like for the rest of his career, and I think he's hopefully learned a lesson for that. I don't know.
Yeah, I on the coaching point, I think it's sadly just one of the easier parts to change up. And like you see this in traditional sports where like LeBron failed in the playoffs, fire the coach. And you're like, all right, I guess, because why not? You're not firing LeBron, So I think Team Liquid isn't in sort of one of those positions. And obviously Kane and Dodo have had success elsewhere and even earlier on this team. So it's not like a horrible indictment on them, but shit happens and someone's got to pay for it in some sense.
I mean, probably what do you do if you're let's say you're the GM of TL? What do you do? Because this is a question. I feel like nobody
What the
knows.
hell, dude? If I was the GM of TL, I would know so much more than I do right now.
Yeah, I guess it's
So my action is probably very shallow.
But you know what I mean? Like this, it's a like what is fascinating to me is I feel like in the past when you have had a great team look bad, most people know what the problem is. It's like, oh man, there's this like super toxic player on the team that's like blowing everything up, or they have like a coach who doesn't know what he's doing, or you have a player who is just like a single player who's holding the team back from success. I feel like with TL, just like no one has like a good answer on what to do.
Yeah, because I think the issue with TL this spring is there's too many problems. Like, I do think, them not having a strategy, like one strategy to play, one draft to play, I think that falls on coaching. I think a lot of their drafting issues, again, I've put some of that on coaching. And then the fact that, their bot lane isn't performing at all. Like, I thought Jensen had a pretty decent split. I think he had maybe a few bad games, but I would say overall Jensen probably played the best on that team.
Is that true? Because I've heard people say that Jensen played the worst.
Compared to everyone on TL?
I think what people don't like is they don't like seeing people not do anything on losing teams, where like he didn't Cassio ult that game. And so I think some fans look at that and say that's worse than the guy who fucked up his engage and killed himself.
But that's always been Jensen. Like, I feel like that has always been him. Like, he's a really stable player, but he's not going to be like, you guys are down 10k, he makes his big play. It's like, no, he's going to follow up and play team fights really well. And like, he has good laning phase. But he's not going to be this. Yeah, if the game is just going down the hill, he's just going to look good and just be 0-0,
Okay.
Yeah.
So last question, and maybe we'll have a take on this soon, but last question on the TL thing. Do you guys feel as though this team makes top 4 in summer?
I think
I could see them doing it. I don't know if they do, but
I mean, I think everyone in NA is super inconsistent, and I don't think. I mean, if a big issue on TL is motivation, I think that's something everyone can agree on is accurate. That won't be an issue for summer, and the players do have good like ceilings. So,
but they got their motivation back, like in week 7.
I mean, you can say that all you want, but if you guys are playing like that when you guys have played so well for 2 years straight, and then you play the way you have been.
So that's why I feel like it was a motivation issue in the beginning, and then it became like a mental boom issue in the final 3 weeks. Where like people keep saying they don't trust each other. Like they got to get their
the
groove
environment
back.
was obviously soured, right?
Yeah.
It was like the interviews and stuff we've seen come out, the deleted ones. That's not that's not a well functioning team. Talking like that, so I think it is beyond just motivation issues. But when you were talking about like what things you can attribute to who, like obviously Double Lift's attitude and his level of play is like his problem a little bit. But you can also say, I know Jack tweeted this out, and it was something that in retrospect, I'm like, yeah, that is true. Like they didn't do a training camp. They decided not to. That's like the definition of complacency. And they did it with the, good intentions of preserving themselves to not get burned out over what was expected to be a long season. But that's putting the cart before the horse, where you're like, yeah, we don't want to get burned out after winning spring and going to MSI. And it's like, well, you're not in playoffs.
Yeah.
So I think, you can, if you wanted to just spend an hour like writing down all of TL's problems and like breaking them up, like whose fault was this one? You could probably do that, but I don't. At the end of the day, when you start looking at solutions, I don't think that there are any easy ones.
All right. Well, whatever. Let's start taking some calls because I'm sure there's going to be a ton to take. Mark, have you started polling folks?
Nope.
Okay. Well, if you want to explain how the show works.
Yeah, can you get rid of this? This server requires 2-factor authentication thing in the Discord.
I can't.
There's
unfortunately,
it says resolve, but I don't want to click that button.
I don't. Yeah, I can't help you.
But it's like cutting off the space I have to work with.
You don't even have that on my Discord screen. I can't help you. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, fuck this shit. I don't want to 2-factor my Discord. I think I need to.
Yeah.
Anyways, if you guys have never seen the show before, in Twitch chat, I've just spammed the link to join up at the Discord. When you get here, join pleb topics or pleb calls or sub calls voice channels. Once you're in here, you're going to want to mute your microphone. And then in the pleb topics and subtopics text channels, you'll go ahead and put what it is you want to talk about. If we like it, we'll pull you from the pleb calls into the waiting room where you'll hang out until it's your turn. We'll do a quick mic check, and then we'll have you on air just after that.
Mark, a lot of people are pointing out in the chat that you've just identified, like, if you didn't need to 2-factor your Discord before, you definitely need to now that you've disclosed your Discord doesn't have 2-factor on it.
Balls. All right.
Also, I'm sure you've had some conversations with people that you don't want leaked. Everybody 2-factor. All right. If you are a sub, by the way, first off, thank you for being a sub. Feel free to put your topic in the subtopics channel, which you can get after you link your Discord with your subs thing on Twitch. You link Discord with Twitch. That's basically how it works. All right. I know how to talk tonight.
You should pull people because I'm authenticating because you told me to.
I don't know how to pull. I guess I can try and pull.
All right, I'll get some polling first. Let me get some polling and then I'll.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you pulling or am I pulling?
I'm pulling. I'm just scrolling because I don't have any fucking room because this thing is in the way. All right, I'm going to check this guy's mic.
Okay, great. Love it. How you doing, P0lly?
I'm doing good. You asked me that, but actually, Travis, how are you doing? I don't think anyone ever asks the host how they're doing.
Hanging in there.
Hello.
Oh, hello, Gully Pete.
Hello.
Thank you for being a Twitch sub. Where are you calling from?
Columbus, Ohio. Well, actually now Inkwood, Ohio. I was Columbus.
Oh, you moved.
Yeah, kind of. Quarantine.
Gotcha.
Stay safe.
Well, what do you want to talk about on the show tonight?
I wanted to talk about how Blabber is the clear MVP, which is made even more amazing by the fact that he had to fill in for Svenskeren.
Wait, filling in for Svenskeren, you get extra points for being better?
I mean, Svenskeren was really, really good, and to be the MVP immediately after losing the MVP is kind of an amazing feat.
What if Svenskeren isn't really good, it's just C9 jungler position is really good? You get like an amazing floor.
Reaper micros your brain.
Or maybe it's just EG is bad.
EG's bad, they're second place.
I'm kidding. EG's
for
great.
Like 7 weeks, that's accurate.
Yeah.
Or 7 weeks, accurate.
Well, either way,
No,
okay, so go ahead and make your case.
I think just the proactive plays that Blabber was making is one of the key reasons that Cloud9 is 17-1, and I think I think a lot of that falls on Blabber's shoulders of making very proactive plays and being very aggressive towards other junglers and fighting for those objectives.
Okay, so I mean, it sounded like you put a lot of it on the 17-1, and not as much on. It's like, yeah, Blabber did some good shit to get them there. Couldn't you make that case about most of the players on C9, if not all of them?
I mean, absolutely, but I think a lot of the aggressive plays and ganking and map control Blabber put out was a big reason why. Like, they're all great players, but I think it was
Shouldn't it be
again
the
just his
most important
proactive
reason
plays.
why, not the big reason?
Yes and no. You can have good players but not make proactive plays and still lose, which I think might kind of be the case with Team Liquid.
I guess I'm just saying, you're like, yeah, a big reason was Blabber, but again, aren't there big reasons for other players? We need like the most. Like when I go to vote, I need to feel confident in my vote, and saying a big reason why was Blabber. You know, you can say like, oh yeah, well Sven, won all those games in the beginning of the split without dying a single time. That was huge. Or you can say, man, like Vulcan played an amazing support thing. That was a big reason why. Like I want to know why Blabber more than others.
Well, like I said, it was kind of more the proactive plays. I think he did a really good job of setting up his laners for success throughout the season of just getting some really, really good ganks off. Like even the EG when he had that 909 game on Gragas, like he made a lot of really good plays that set his laners up for a lot of good shit and controlled objectives pretty well.
Gotcha.
Their objective control over neutral monsters was insane this split, and I think that's something you have to point to towards their success.
Has Pr0lly answered this? I'm back. I've got authentication. I had to ban a troll.
No, probably hasn't answered this
Nope.
yet.
I'm just listening.
Okay.
Well, what
I
are your
like
thoughts,
this.
Pr0lly?
I don't know. I think it's pretty fair. I think he's definitely a front runner because I think for junglers he's been the best in all 18 games. I don't think there's a game. Maybe okay. I take that back. There's maybe one game where I can say like the other jungler could
That
did
TSM
more.
game was pretty rough.
Yeah, I think there's times where you could say the other jungler did more, but I'd say maybe once, maybe twice. And how much better he is than every other jungler is pretty large, and how accurate he is with his plays is pretty high. So a lot of the time he's just making really good decisions and getting a lot out of it. And I think early game is just so incredibly important, and I think that's a big part of C9's success. And a lot of early game is junglers and lanes coordinating well together. So yeah, I mean, I would say he's definitely going to be in contention for MVP.
Yeah, I think I haven't decided my vote. I haven't done my deep dig onto every player, but Blabber does. He's become the favorite. Initially, it was Niski for the first half of the split. I think I've changed a little bit more to Blabber. He does have some games where he, does something dumb and kills himself, but like that's so much less than the times it works out. And that shouldn't be overlooked just because it happens sometimes. He has the fewest deaths of anyone who started all 16 games as a jungler. He has almost double the kills of Santorin. Santorin has 33. He has 59. It's like his lead over his competition is so high for the jungle position. The only thing that's like making me really hesitate with Blabber is the fact that Sven just got it last split. And it does sound a little weird to give it to the C9 jungler. He fucks off and then it's like the new C9 jungler gets it. They're both MVPs. But, for me, I like to value what they actually did on the Rift more so than who I think is skill-wise the best player in the LCS or anything like that. And like Blabber was such a beast for so long and in so many of their games.
All right. Well, I mean, it sounds like he's a pretty good contender based off of his performance. So, Gilly, you might have what you want.
If I could vote, he would be my choice.
Who would be your second?
That's a hard one. I'd probably be Niski. He's had, like, week 9, that TL game, he had some really good Rumble ults, so he'd probably be my second choice.
Did Niski get Player of the Week?
Yeah.
Vulcan.
No,
Well-
not this week.
Yeah. I think he's got it 2 weeks in a row,
Okay.
or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Hey, Gully Pete, thank you so much for the call. Is there anything you want to say before we move on to the next caller?
Thank you, Alienware. Thank you, Movement. Thank you, Raid. Stay safe and wash your hands.
Thanks so much for the call.
Bye.
Mark, do you want to grab Danny Grimm next?
Did you pull him?
Yes.
Does that happen a lot where we all agree with the caller?
Sometimes.
Like slightly?
Here's the thing. This show has two different types of calls. It has a
Okay.
call where we mostly all agree, and then
Mm.
Twitch chat and YouTube comments say, wow, the takes are so boring on this show. And then we have takes where we don't agree with the caller, and then people say, wow, they just pull all these people with idiot takes that they should just immediately hang up on. And I can't watch the show because of that. And we bounce between those two takes.
Hey, your Danny Grimm guy didn't unmute his microphone, so I can't help you.
Okay, that's fine. He failed, but it looks like another person has the same issue.
Yeah, we got someone else.
Hey, Dally Man, is that how you say your name?
Yep.
Where are you calling from?
Upstate New York.
Upstate New York. Well, what do you want to talk about on the show tonight?
My topic is that Doublelift will not be on Team Liquid next split, and they will bring in Sneaky, and they will easily be a top 2 team with that roster. Because I think the main reason they brought in Broxa was because they wanted to have jungle mid synergy, and TL doesn't play jungle mid, they play bot lane. So with Sneaky, he's a better weak side bot laner, so I think that would be a better fit for TL in their current iteration with Broxa.
That's hot.
It's pretty hot. Who wants to try and grab the hot take?
This is too hot for me. I'm gonna burn myself.
I mean, okay. I'm going to say one thing is the way that them playing around mid, I don't think was hindered this split. Mostly because they brought in tactical, and they still didn't play around mid. And if TL is such a bot-centric team, bringing in Sneaky makes less sense. So it's like they have to force this playstyle if they want to get Sneaky. But it's kind of goofy because playing around mid and having a weak bot doesn't work well. Because if your bot lane's getting pushed in, they're going to roam through the river and control mid. And then your playing around mid doesn't work well.
All right, let's dissect. Hang on. Let's dissect this
Okay.
take, though. Before we even get to the Sneaky thing,
Gotcha.
are we
Is
all
that not
100% sure that Doublelift is on this team next split?
Yeah, I'd be pretty sure. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
This might not change next split, but I could definitely see TL making changes before next year.
Yeah, because I mean the contracts are all up at the end of the year, so
Yeah.
I just like from the outside, like Doublelift has been, and I'm going to preface this by saying I don't have any like additional info on this. I don't have some sort of secret line. I'm not talking to Steve or Peter and hearing about them doing trade stuff. All I know is what publicly has been done, which is like Doublelift has not seemed as though he is like meshing well with the team, right? Like there's that interview that went up this week about it. In the interview that he did with me before we did the different version, he was talking about how he was frustrated with the coaches. Like, I just, I'm not saying that he's the obvious change. It's just one of those things where like, I think a lot of people assume there's no world in which he could not be on the team next summer, in this summer. But people said the same thing before he left CLG, and people said the same thing before he left TSM. Like, people were shocked by these changes. People don't usually expect him to leave a team. And so I just am curious for you guys, like, as we're taking this call, and the take is Doublelift won't be there and it'll be Sneaky, we immediately jump to the Sneaky thing, which makes me wonder, like, are we so, like, do we even need to talk about Sneaky if we're so sure that, Peter is going to be on the team?
Yeah,
I mean,
that makes sense.
if we're talking about next split, it just so someone just messaged me and made a good point about with the bumped up schedule, and starting earlier to make room for potentially having MSI in the middle of July or whatever the plan is. You have even less time to really make moves and try to make things happen.
You also can't take. It's very unlikely that anybody will sign international players as well. In my
because everyone's season's so fucked.
well, not just the
Like,
season, but also like, hey, player in another country, do you want to come here? Well, like there's a travel ban, and
Yeah.
our country is like getting growing cases every single day. Like, I don't think that you can. You're pretty much stuck with the pool of players that you already have here in North America.
Right. So, anyways, my overall point is just that like it's super super hard to make anything happen between spring and summer normally, and this is a horrible situation that we're in. So it's very unlikely to have anything possible. So just for that reason alone, even if there is this rift between Team Liquid and Double Lift, I just don't like, other than him being like, "Don't play me," like that's like the extent that, or maybe Team Liquid's like, "You don't get to play." Like either way, I don't think it's like a trade him and find some new talent. It would probably just be like tactical and Double Lift his bench. I don't think, or he quit or whatever. I just don't see how.
Well, Dally, you think it's going to be sneaky. So do you have a rebuttal to Mark, who believes that you'd be wrong?
Well, there's a good point that this year is going to be a lot different as far as off-season goes. So that could change things, and also the fact that his contract's not up until the end of the year. So I think Sneaky, because I think that Sneaky wants to still play on a main roster, and as far as I know, he was offered a lot of from a different he was given a lot of offers from different teams, and he just didn't accept any of them. So like he still wants to be in the LCS. So I'm just thinking that like he's probably the best alternative.
Do you think,
if you're still looking,
why not tactical?
I think Sneaky's better than tactical, but it would make sense to put in tactical if they can't get Sneaky. But then everyone's gonna be like, "But Double is still there." I think Sneaky would please the fans as well as like the team and everything, because I think he would be a better fit.
I mean, that actually more than anything is like, in losing Double Lift, one of the biggest things you lose as a team is like the brand, right? Like TSM.
But Sneaky also has his own brand.
And that's my point.
So that would bring in other fans. Yeah.
That's my point, is that is the biggest reason why I can imagine them using Sneaky rather than tactical, is because if you're losing Double Lift's brand and sort of following and all that stuff, replacing it with another big name would be a good option.
I mean, at this point, I think your brand concern is more about fucking getting ninth with this roster and being a bit of a
you say that, but whenever Steve goes to sponsors, you want to be able to say, I've got, one of the biggest faces in the league on my team.
Yeah, that's the cherry on top of the non-existent Sunday, right?
But that is not necessarily true. I bet you right now CLG would much rather have like
which player has Steve got for followers over performance? Which player has he got that wasn't just like a really like the best player he could potentially get? When has he made this decision?
I don't know. I mean, I can't think of too many times whenever any team has made this decision.
That's my point, is that people put performance number one above all else.
And like, I feel like once you have all the orgs are in a very different place than they were a couple years ago. They all need to generate significant revenue streams. They all have large sponsorships attached to this stuff. And you got to imagine that a huge amount of like, there's a reason Double Lift is the only person in any of these ads on the LCS broadcast. Like, he brings so much tremendous monetary and sponsorship value to your brand.
I feel like we're just talking past each other. I understand the value of fans.
You're saying, when has this ever happened before? I am saying it hasn't needed to happen before. We're in a different world now.
I think if he got Sneaky, it'd be because the finances worked out and he thinks Sneaky's better than tactical. And if there was a no-name fucking person he could get that was better than all of them, he would get that person.
You don't think Steve would be worried about losing all that brand following?
I don't think so, no. I mean, Team Liquid has had times where their roster was like Golden Glue, Rainover.
Yeah, nobody gave a shit about TL before then.
And they fucking sucked. That was the problem, was that they were ninth, not that roster wasn't... Like, C9 doesn't have that many popular players. None of their players are over 100K on Twitter. Currently, I'm pretty sure. I'd have to double check that. But they constantly shelved their popular players for better talent. And what do you know? They're the best team in the league. Maybe if people are thinking this way that you're suggesting, they need to stop now.
I don't know. I guess I think that there's more that goes into a player signing than just, is this going to make my team better? That's what I think.
I agree, but
no one's gonna argue that.
yeah.
All right, Dally Man.
Also, when you're at 9th place, not doing very little will make your team better.
Listen, when you're chasing greatness, it's not about what you say, it's about what you do. That's what people need to realize.
Truth.
Dally Man, thanks so much for the call. Anything you want to say before we move on to the next caller?
Yeah, shout out to my team at FLCC. We're the first accredited esports program in New York at a community college. So just want to give them a shout out. And yeah, that's about it.
Thanks so much. Have a good one.
You too.
Want to do one more caller?
Yeah, sure. Oh man, we've got so many people in the wait room. We got to go through these a little faster. Some shout outs to some subs. Anero, thank you for 26 months. Anero is sick in his room right now. Hopefully he is okay. Quelchinator for the 4, Roberto 13, Ririkiri for Sold Out Napkin, Danny Grimm for 10 months, Shelled Easy for thank you for gifting us a tier 2 sub to Osaka 6. That's very nice of you. We've got Danny Grimm here, who hopefully has resolved his microphone issues. Danny, where are you calling from?
Hey, Redmond, Washington.
That's what I figured. I was working from home.
Interesting, as you can maybe hear.
Oh, there's a child in the background.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know you were a father. Either way.
Yeah.
I had hoped to have you on as the second caller, but why don't you go ahead and give your take?
Okay, so my take is Niski is clear MVP for the split easily.
You see what I did here, Mark?
You got another opinion on the show?
Yeah,
I hate
exactly.
it. I hate it.
I'm
How dare you.
orchestrating conflict on this show. All right, Danny. Pr0lly and Mark both went in on, and I'm undecided. And I guess that technically they're undecided too because they haven't voted. But they both agreed Blabber's number 1. Why?
I said front runner.
Whatever. They both agreed he's the front runner. What?
There could be multiple front runners.
What? You just said the front runner.
A front runner.
Danny,
There.
why Niski over Blabber?
So first of all, I'm not going to talk down Blabber. If he gets MVP, I'm more than happy. The reason I think Niski should get MVP is, well, it's kind of twofold. The first one is, I think, so I was looking at his stats, and he basically played every kind of champion mid. So he played control, poke, assassin, tank. Their record is 17-1. So basically he won on every type of champ that he played, and had pretty good to really good stats throughout all the games. So he is by far, just stats-wise, the best mid in the league. And I would say more versatile for his team than any other player on any other team. And besides that, even Blabber talked to how Niski is such a great mid to have because he plays towards his jungler and not like the other way around. Like many mids, we talk about how the jungler needs to go mid to help out the mid laner get ahead. And Niski is mostly roaming, mostly helping the jungler. Like he makes Blabber look good. And Blabber said as much. So I don't see any way that he is not MVP and at the end of this vote.
I think some of the things you're saying is why I feel a little weird about putting 2 C9 junglers as the MVP back to back with different people, and then like the one consistent factor is like who was their mid laner, and that was kind of what I was hinting at before. He does seem to be an incredible mid laner for setting people up. He roams really well. He does all these things, like you said, really versatile. That's all great, but I guess where I'm currently landing a little bit is that he's setting, like we're saying, he's this great player. Every jungler wants to play with a mid laner like that to unlock them. And then like, it's like an alley-oop and then the guy dunks it, you know? And Blabber's the guy dunking. So like people generally give more in just anything. Whoever's the one finishing, whoever gets the spike, whoever gets the dunk, whatever it is, that's usually the guy who the accolades go to. And maybe that's not necessarily always the right way to think about it, but it is kind of the knee-jerk reaction to like, holy shit, Blabber's Gragas is 8-0 this weekend. He just beat the hell out of everyone. So like that's kind of where I'm right now, where I'm totally in agreement that Niski is super good, but Niski is setting a lot of people up, and I think maybe Blabber is the primary recipient to look better. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the question is Blabber, are the C9 junglers making Niski look good, or is Niski making the C9 junglers look good?
Well, the other thing too is Blabber played even when they had Jensen, right? And he was still the highest win rate MVP jungler then, and was popping off, and like, so I think you can't. I don't think you can divorce him a little bit from Niski.
And I will say the way Niski's playing now is not the way he was playing last year. It's much more unique this year. And kind of to Mark's point is, yeah, it's been said before, but yeah, when you have all these really strong laners, the jungler gets so much freedom to do whatever he wants and can look great because I have so many winning laners. Wow, where do they all come from? So, I mean, I don't have like a big argument against Niski or against Blabber because I think both of them are like, it's going to be hard to decide really. But yeah, I think to Niski's praise, he's the only one playing this style in NA right now with this big of a champion pool. And I would say if I was prepping against C9, dealing with Niski would be a harder thing to do than dealing with Blabber.
Yeah, it's like Jankos. Jankos went from a very respectable jungler in EU, top 3 jungler by most people's standards. G2 becomes the most dominant team in the league. He gets 2 MVPs now or something, and he's the best jungler in the world potentially,
and best player in the world according to ESPN ahead of Worlds last year.
Right, so like junglers is a role that like once you join a dominant team, you look so fucking great, which does make it a little hard to divorce them. But at the end of the day, like, yeah, you're running over these games every game, and it's because it's your pick at the feast, but he's not messing it up. So it's like, how do you discredit him for succeeding so well just because the situation's good? Like, he's still doing it.
So Mark, how will you decide between these two players? Like, you have to figure this out in the next 24 hours, right? So
no, nothing's Wednesday, right?
Oh, I got really scared. I was like,
yeah, I hope
24 hours.
36 hours then. I don't know. It's relatively soon.
Yes.
And you sleep for some of that.
I do sleep for some of that. I probably have 24 waking hours. You're right. I will. What I always do is I go pull up all the stats for all the people who are candidates, and I do this for all the LCS awards. So rookie and first team and all that. I pull those up. I'll usually go back and like skim through a couple of their old games that I might not remember as well. Or at least look at the pick bands and try and remember those games if I can't, to try and avoid recency bias. And then at the end of the day, I kind of just think about, I play a couple games in my head. If you swap this player out with another, do they look better or worse? Or like, how much worse do they look? Who's the most irreplaceable person on this team? I start asking some of those questions, which is, I forget if I voted for Sven or Niski last split. I think I voted for Sven because I was swayed a little bit by talking to other players who were like, man, I would love to play with Sven. There's other laners talking about that. But Niski is more unique this time. I feel like Niski watched Doinby and then did everything he could to copy it.
Yeah.
He like didn't even like the timer, like the way he did timers and stuff. If you watch his pro view, it's like, oh, that's what Doinby did. I'm going to do that. So maybe I should do Niski. I don't know.
Maybe you should do
It's
Doinby.
Yeah,
if I could, I would.
MVP.
Yeah.
That'd be sick. All right, Danny, you covered our both bases. My panelists here, my co-hosts, they agree with the person about Blabber, and now they agree with you about Niski.
Yeah, I feel like they even made the additional points for me, so I'm super happy. I think it's a slam dunk for MVP, to be honest.
Nice.
Our point is that it's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, what you were saying was Loki saying that probably Blabber shouldn't get it over Niski. And you then made the case to why. I know it's hard, but inside yourself, you know it's Niski.
Well, I mean, the same. Some of the
He's
points
trying
I
to
made.
accept you.
If you want me to swap it around, like Power Evil has more kills than Niski. He's been a bigger factor for his team's success in the first half of the split. Yes, they dropped off, but like Niski doesn't stomp every statistical category quite the same way like Blabber does. So when I was talking about Blabber earlier, I was talking about his monstrous kill lead over the next person in jungle. It's like nearly double. You know, like those are still true. I just started talking about Niski's strengths.
We like them both.
Yeah.
I mean, as I said, I'm not going to talk down Blabber to hurt his chances. I actually hope that it's not going to come down to some like a third person gets it
Yeah.
because people are split between Niski and Blabber too much. But yeah, I feel like it's Niski. I feel like there's many reasons why it's Niski, and it doesn't necessarily even have to be about stats. End of the day, it's all about what you define as MVP. And I think, as you said, if you take the player out of the team, and in my mind, I'm like, if you take Blabber out, put Sven back in, does this team look as good? Maybe.
I mean, I guess
Probably.
I guess what I would say on this topic, just to kind of wrap it up, is when you're chasing greatness, it's not about what you say, it's about what you do. Danny, thanks so much for the call. Anything you want to say before we move on to the next caller?
No, thanks to Alienware and Movement for sponsoring the show, and stay safe.
Thanks. Have a good one.
You too.
You're
Bye-bye.
really getting your mileage out of that, Travis.
It's the easiest way to get Twitch chat engagement because now they're just all spamming it again. Let's do one more, Mark. I'm feeling wild.
You're feeling wild. I was trying to see if Papa wanted to come on. I saw him in Twitch chat, but then I don't know if he stopped reading it or what he did.
He got bored.
I'm hoping to get him on at any point if he's around. See if he says anything before I pop away.
Before you pop away, Papa.
Before I.
Smithy.
Oh, he's
I don't
here.
get
It says always down.
If you want to join one of the voice channels,
we'll do the break then right now, so you can coordinate this with PapaSmithy while we're doing this.
Cool. Yeah. If you want to join one of the calls channels, Papa, I'll get you into the waiting room really quickly, so we don't have to deal with all the people.
You talk to them through the chat or however else. Let's take a quick break to talk about our sponsor, Alienware. They're sick. Basically, this whole setup that I have at home, I showed it a little bit last week, I think, on broadcast, but there's a sick setup that I have at home that's allowed me to do interviews from here, the show, just like so much content from here, which has been really great. And I just super appreciate the fact that part of the reason we're able to like do all this stuff, all this content from home, and really, I'm set up for success here is just because of the tools that Alienware has provided me. It's been fantastic to have their support. I believe right now they may or may not be doing another giveaway. Like I was promoting their old giveaway. Now I think they have a new one up. They do, or maybe, yeah, I believe they do. So go check out alienware.com/Travis. You can enter to win the same gaming rig that they use at the LCS studios are used to before the world moved on. The Aurora, the gaming monitor, they're now doing a chair giveaway. You can even win a Secret Lab chair. Which is pretty fantastic, the LCS one. So they've included that now. This is a even better giveaway than before. You going to alienware.com/Travis, and I know if you've entered before, and for the last giveaway, but you going and entering for this one actually helps me out a ton. So I would just appreciate it if you guys went and signed up for this. Sorry, I was messaging Mark, who was back channeling with me, but yeah, it's a fantastic setup. Go at alienware.com/Travis. There's a link right up at the top. And while you're over there, by the way, feel free to pick up some gear. Maybe a new computer, maybe a monitor, maybe a laptop. You can use Travis10 off at checkout to save 10% off your order of your Alienware product. Either way, thanks so much to Alienware for sponsoring us. All right, where are we at, Mark?
We have Papa in the on-air channel right now.
PapaSmithy is here on the show. And
he's muted,
he's muted, but he will unmute the moment we need him to. And I'm very curious, Mark, did you have a plan for this, or are we just gonna be like, hey, how's it going?
I have a small plan about some of the things that I've wanted to talk about with 100 Thieves for a little bit, but it's been difficult with the limited time that we have now on
air.
On air. We
Well, why
don't
don't you
quite have as
take it
much
away?
time for segments and stuff. Okay, well, I thought that there were a number of things I was concerned about with 100 Thieves, and then when the season started and they were struggling, those were things that still I was worried about. Like Meteos wasn't looking as great, Stunt was a bit of a question mark. Ryoma was obviously one, and one of the things that Papa said from the very beginning with Ryoma was like, we don't, we're taking a shot on him. They weren't like, this is the guy for sure, 100% going to run it, going to crush NA. But they said they saw a lot of intangibles in him. And I felt like that was one of the things I kind of started to see more as the season went on, when I was watching how his LeBlanc was positioning, and like he was good about finding his moments and opportunities and stuff like that. As well as they went on a 7-2 run in the back split. And so I thought 100 Thieves deserved a lot of credit for turning things around, and the coaching staff for, I always think coaches are very important if a team's going to go on a late season run or improve over the course of a split. That's one of the most important things I try from the outside at least to measure coaches by. Anyways, I'm saying they did really good, and I wanted to talk to Papa about, like, from his first split as a GM, how did he find some of these things? Like, what was the intangibles and stuff that he saw that maybe we can pump him for some information so the rest of North America can start turning it around.
Jesus, I'm surprised the chat wasn't spamming the hang up email, because that's what they normally do when we have a caller that goes on for that long. PapaSmithy,
I'm better than a caller.
What do you think?
Hello. There's a lot to unpack in that take, Mark. It's like definitely a cool story, bro.
There's a word vomit of like, I've been waiting to talk about this for 3 weeks, and blah.
And I think it's kind of a counterpoint to my side, because obviously mostly my thoughts are Twitter or the heist, which obviously only hits 100 Thieves fans. The one thing I'll say is, the thing that like I reflect on most happily about is that I feel like we've been pretty transparent and clear and consistent about what we're talking about with our team and the direction we're going in on. And I feel like if you go back and listen to what we were saying at each point, we were pretty on the mark, or at least we felt good about the direction we were going in. And now like people are starting to wake up to it, and the results came there. But I guess for me, this season was a lot of introspection and a lot of kind of having to set goals introspectively and like be able to evaluate things outside of just community thought. Because the thing that I think rings the most true compared to like my expectations is that we have access to 5 scrim games a day, 4 to 5 days a week of scrims, and the fans have access and the pundits have access to 2 stage games. And it's kind of, you need to know you have the right people to make the most of that info, but with that info, can we make good conclusions and can we plot a course is kind of what's on us. And I feel like that's an area we have been able to deliver on pretty well.
I think I definitely understand your point about being consistent throughout the whole split with messaging and stuff, where some teams, we have the best front office in or whatever.
Did you see Kelby and Greg got into it again on Twitter today?
Yeah, it's so funny. So like, I would say Papa at least has done a better job with his public messaging.
And get into the nitty gritty. What do you want to know, Mark? You got all the questions. I'm here to give you answers.
All right, so I think one of the things most recently on people's mind that I think would be interesting to get your perspective on was, why did C9 choose you guys? Or like, has the team thought and talked about this at all? That's something that is really prevalent, just happened today.
Yeah, I mean, we were taken a little bit off guard there. Like, if I was to judge kind of the teams based on visible metrics, I would have assumed that the order would be FlyQuest, then us, then EG in terms of power level, because I think EG have looked really, really good on stage, especially in the style they play. So I guess we were taken a bit off guard there. But at the end of the day, I think you just have to be pragmatic, and we get to come from a pretty consistent line of thought of that this is a development split for us trying to improve. So playing Cloud9 twice in best of fives is a possibility depending on how things go. So if our ultimate goal is to become the team that we mapped out over many hours and nights at the end of 2019 to try to develop towards, I mean, fuck it, I'll take it, right? Let's play Cloud9 twice. Sounds good to me.
I'm curious because when I interviewed you before, like I think right around the time that the split was starting, you were pretty reserved on your expectations for the team. You weren't like, we're going to go out there and suck, but You weren't like, we're going to go out there and win everything. And I think what is shocking to me is how well the team did and the roster did over the course of the split. Given the sort of, it seemed like this was a growth roster where spring was going to be about learning and summer is going to be where you guys really tried to hit those high highs. And you guys were, one tiebreaker away from getting second, and ended up with third. So, is it safe to say that this team outperformed your expectations for the split? And what's your thought process as you look at the successes you found this split?
I think we came into a roster that we spent a lot of time thinking about how it would gel in terms of personality, in terms of performance, in terms of like if this player plays their max capacity, what would that look like? But to answer your initial point, I don't feel like coming in as a GM fresh for the first time, I wanted to come in and presume, like we're not taking all established bets. It's not a Team Liquid light where we just have 5 players who are like top 3 in their role from the start. We were making bets and we were trying to aspire towards being a great team. So even though I felt really good and the coaches and everyone who decided came in feeling really good about the people we had, I'm not going to come in and say we're going to be top 2 unless I'm fucking sure we're going to be top 2. So given that, it was just a case of we really like what we have, and then it's going to take time, it's going to take reps, it's going to take scrims, it's going to take stage games. So I just wanted to keep it pragmatic and improvement based, because as a caster, something I struggled with towards the end of my casting career is that everyone had already made their mind up that I was a great caster, and I found it very hard to find learning points because everyone just gravitated towards telling me I was already great. So I found it very hard to improve. So I much preferred my whole career an improvement mindset about trying to get better. And I think this group has already, week on week, regardless of stage matches and regardless of scrim results, always been able to pick up the learnings and how to get better. And I think that's really paying off in the clutch, where we finally had enough team discussions, we finally had enough one-on-ones, we finally kind of gotten through a lot of the hump, what it takes to become a good team. And we still have a lot of work to do to become a great team, but it's a great group of humans that are all of the same mindset of being the best. And whether we get there or we fall short in spring, there's still summer, there's still splits to go. So things are going in the right direction.
Yeah, that's why I haven't stopped casting yet. And I know everyone here is still working in our respective jobs, because we get plenty of feedback all the time letting us know that there's plenty of growth, especially Travis not being a real interviewer.
That's true. That's true.
He's still trying to figure out how to be a journalist.
I'm just trying to get to the baseline. Mark, maybe we have time for one more question for PapaSmithy.
Yeah. So I've kind of hinted at being around him. I just remember I meant to ask this initially. Was like, what has it been like for him to be such a criticized person just for, he's taking up an import slot and rah, and I don't know if this season has had, I assume it has, peaks and valleys for him. And I know you said that you guys are more internally focused and introspective and stuff, but it's hard to completely ignore the outside world. So I was wondering, what's Ryoma's personal ups and downs been, because he is the least proven, at least in North America's fans' eyes, player on the team.
For sure. Look, honestly, it's been hard for him. Like, he's a really bubbly kid. We picked him up for a lot of reasons that we've talked about a lot of times, but great attitude, super hard worker. Internally, he was very early in the piece, whether it was the European boot camp or scrims and the like, able to show us that our suspicions were correct about kind of the direction he was going in. Obviously not the finished article, but stage games in the first half of the split especially were not, fantastic from him. He wasn't converting everyone into believers super early. And then to be hated for not being someone else, to be hated for what you're not rather than what you are, I think it is hard. Like, he was hated for not being the players people wanted to see on the roster. Even though he was our first choice, he clearly wasn't the community's first choice. And that's a lot to put on a 20-year-old who's never left Australia, like it was hard for him. But internally, I think he was, hitting all the metrics we had for him. And we definitely are not the sort of team to allow someone to coast. Like, he is someone who models himself on the best and tries to aspire to get there and isn't happy till he does get there, and he still has work to do there. But I think overall, especially the second half of the split, like if you're still following the same kind of logic that you were in the first half, I think you're ignoring how consistent he's been, in the second half. Is he popping off every game? No, but is he doing what we expect of him and what he was not able to translate on stage in the first half? Yes. So honestly, I have a lot of respect for him because he was in a position where there was no real way to change opinions unless you were kind of like Bjergsen in your first split kind of thing. And all he can do is keep being consistent, keep being what his team is asking him to be. And then it'll still take time. Like people will check in, maybe watch a 100 Thieves game every now and again. And then, oh, maybe this was one of his good games. But I think people are sleeping on the fact that there was a lot of good games in that second half there. And I think we all saw it early, and I hope the fans kind of catch up and see that. We hope he's around to stay because he's got a lot of growing still to do.
Yeah. Hey, thanks so much for the call, Papa, or for calling in as Mark dragged you. Really appreciate it. Anything you want to say to anybody out there before we?
Any topics you wanna call out?
Not really, I'm not going to come in here with any woe is me or like any kind of hot takes. I just think I'm really proud of what our team has been able to put together here, and it seems like it was largely kind of not kind of it was in the rearview mirror compared to preseason favorites falling short and things like that. All I can say is we'll keep kind of following our same internal logic. We'll keep being honest with the fans and kind of sharing what we're trying to do, and we'll keep fucking tirelessly moving till we reach the sort of lofty goals that every team's looking for, and that's championships and worlds.
Thanks so much,
It
man.
seems like a lot of
I have one thing to ask Papa real quick.
I'm listening.
All right. So you talked about you weren't sure why C9 chose you because, you had your little power rankings. Do you believe C9 picked you because they want you to assassinate TSM?
I can't. I think logic like that. It's like such a sexy storyline from the outside,
So
but
just
I
say
like
yes.
the idea
Say
of it,
yes,
though.
please. Say yes.
No, I think I have no belief there. I think they feel like they have the highest chance to beat us, so they took us, and it's on us to prove them they're wrong.
PapaSmithy says he thinks that they are the TSM killers hired by C9. That's what he should say. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
Assassins.
Thanks so much, Papa.
Hey.
Oh, go ahead.
It's all good. No, it's all good. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, have a good one.
I did see in Twitch chat a lot of you guys were asking for us to ask him about the MVP vote. One, he's a coach, or I think he might be on the ballot. He's not a coach, excuse me, but some org people sometimes are able to vote. I'm not sure if he is. And also, he said blabber in chat, so there you go. I thought he was just going to say someday 100%. So that's why I was like, it's not going to be a great question, guys.
You can't vote for your own team, though.
You're right. If you can vote and you're a member of a team, you can't vote for your own team.
Let's grab our next caller because we've got
Okay.
we're running a little slow. Too much to talk about tonight.
What are you talking about? We have so long.
We got 45 minutes to go through 4 calls. We've been taking. Okay, he left the channel as I was trying to defend myself. Impossible Katana, thank you for the 11 months. The best cliches. Osu, Gloaters, Hero 1CE, Ichiryu, Sir Cattle for 30 months. Oh my god. It's crazy. We're going to get to 36 months soon. We're going to get to 3 years. It's going to be wild for me. Cypher X, thank you for the Prime. Sir Malafact 21. Pluto gifted a sub to Ovally. Thank you. Ovally needs all the subs she can get. All right, we got Wicked here. I'm assuming that this is not the Wicked I tend to think of because this one has an E in his name.
No.
Yeah, your accent is not what I was. Where are you?
Wow, your English got so much better.
Yeah.
Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Sacramento, California.
Sacramento. How is it up there? I hear it's actually kind of crazy.
Yeah. Everyone's sheltering at home.
Yeah.
So pretty boring. No.
Well, what do you want to talk about on the show?
So I wanted to discuss that TL not making playoffs, not being a very big deal, and that they don't need to make any roster changes and coaching staff changes.
Okay, would you say them getting 9th place is a big deal?
No, I mean, so I think a lot of people, and so even like I feel like it's really overblown, especially with the casters, LCS casters.
Wait, would you say, just please tell me right now that your take is going to be, it doesn't matter because spring split doesn't matter. So ninth place.
No, that's not my take.
Okay,
That's not my
damn
take.
it. I actually kind of wish that was your
So-
take because I just think it would be fucking hilarious.
So, TL, the organization just had a lot of issues this whole split. Broxah had the visa issue, so he didn't play for, I believe it was 4 weeks. They were playing with Schernfire. Doublelift was sick for a week, and then he was benched. So I believe his motivational issues were an actual problem, but I think the bigger issue was that it was just poor decision making from the organization, which can be fixed going into summer league. Summer
Right.
split.
I mean, so correct me if I'm misunderstanding your take here. Your take is not getting ninth isn't a big deal, but like looking forward, people shouldn't be panicked and looking for roster and coaching moves. Or are you saying that even getting ninth in spring, who gives a fuck?
The first one.
Okay, because that's a lot more reasonable of a take than including the second.
You
part
kind
of
of
it.
called out the casters though, Wicked, and I assume you also mean like the analysts and stuff, like the broadcast personalities. Can you elaborate a bit on that?
Well, it was just because of the reasons I brought up earlier with all this the roster changes that they were going through. I don't know. It just felt like the casters were they sort of ignored it going because the full team didn't practice until I believe it was like week 7, and that's when the full team started practicing. So that's 3 weeks where the team's fully practicing together, and again, and then you're going against teams that have been practicing together the whole split. And I don't believe there was any other teams that went through that many heavy roster changes like TL did.
I think it's a totally fair opinion, like to say that we were negative or whatever. But I think it doesn't bother me if you call us out. But I think it's important to keep in mind how we were talking about it. I don't think anyone was saying these players were bad. Maybe we said they were playing bad. But I think what we were saying when we're saying, oh, this team looks doomed or they look fucked or whatever we were saying, it was in the context of spring split. Like I gave up on TL making playoffs in week 7, I think. And when we were talking about, oh, they have real problems and this team is really struggling and they're really not good, we're talking about in the context of spring. So in week 4, when they first got Broxah, and everyone's saying this team has much deeper issues, they're in a lot of trouble. It's not just about getting rid of Schernfire and putting in Broxah. They're in a lot of trouble. When we were all saying that, we weren't saying this team will never be good again, but we were saying for spring, they are in such a shitty position. And guess what? They got 9th. So I think our doom and gloom was pretty warranted.
Oh, I agree. And I'm not trying to say anything negative.
Yeah, no worries. I'd rather
than
clear that up if people think that's what we think they're doomed for summer, but that's
um,
another topic entirely.
So and then the way they played against C9, I felt like they played a lot better. They were going toe to toe for most of the game. Unfortunately, it was the last game of the split, but we saw Broxah playing a really strong early game. And I just think it was a lot of poor decision making, and then part of with Doublelift losing motivation. And so I think those can be solved going into this summer split. And then I wasn't sure how I felt about TL I saw the article, I believe it was an article, where they're trying to do more of a democracy with the shot calling. Like everyone's calling together, but I don't know if that would work on a team that's only been practicing together for 3 weeks with the full squad.
So, Pr0lly, question for you. Wicked seems to believe that TL fans shouldn't be worried about summer because these problems are solvable and it's just like an organization issue. Is that fair? Should TL fans not be worried for summer?
I don't think it's only an organizational issue. I mean, I think it's a lot of things for sure. And one thing I'm really worried about is there's issues on the team. And if they don't solve them during this break, you can't like, hey, I'll see you in a month or 2 months and we'll go play and we'll be good. So my issue is like, if they do have these trust issues or internal conflicts with the players or with the coaching staff, if they can't resolve that in time for summer, because if they're taking a break, how are they going to resolve anything? So that's what I would say would worry me for TL going forward. Because, the issues that they have, I know you're saying they only had 3 weeks of practice, but if you look at any of the LCS teams, or not any of them, but like take a good look at like some of the LCS teams. In 3 weeks, you can like guess their play style or their identity, or you can like guess their strategy going into the game. When I was watching TL, I never felt confident of like, oh, they're gonna play this way, or they're gonna
Scaling,
try this.
aggressive, or
Yeah, it's like, oh, they're gonna try to play around bot this game. Like I couldn't even see an early game that I could follow from game to game. And early games usually the first thing you learn as a team. So I wasn't like, cool, Broxley can like do this, and I can see how they do it every single game, or something similar. Like they always were this spot every game. Like little things like that, I couldn't even see with TL. So that's where I'm very critical of them and how they developed this split. Is like the really basic stuff. Like if they were getting to 30 minutes and then losing because they had bad macro, I'd be like, cool, they didn't have practice. But like they can't even get out of early game consistently. I know the C9 game was a good game where they actually got pretty far, and maybe that loss was more on the fact that they didn't have enough time to practice. But I didn't see them get to that point many games. And for a roster with that good of a skill floor, all the players are individually good. They should be able to at least get to 15 minutes, because you can get there without having like a main shot caller. Like you can kill the first turret without having one guy shot calling the entire map.
Yeah,
So
I think
yeah.
I'm in a pretty similar boat as P0lly, because I somewhat think the points Wicked is making are valid, where you can, because TL did have a ton of excuses to pull out of their pocket for why this split went wrong with the Visa and Double F sick, and we made some bad decisions around boot camp and swapping players out, and our drafts weren't great. And so if we just really buckle down next split, we'll solve all of those, because there are so many problems, and like you're saying, Wicked, a lot of those are solvable for the average team. But I don't think TL is currently the average team, in a sense where you have such high expectations, you failed so hard, and you want to instantly get back to winning. And so like if you have these lingering resentments or trust issues like P0lly was talking about, you can't, it's much harder to fix those symptoms of what is the underlying problem of our team doesn't get along fundamentally.
What is
and
that?
so
God.
that's where I think if there is problems with coaches or problems between players, it's super hard to fix, and why they would be in a tougher spot than I don't know. I haven't heard anything bad about TSM, right? Like TSM has a lot of these problems too that they could fix, with draft being crazy or only winning on certain champs or whatever. But I also don't think that I've seen interviews that make me go, whoa, from TSM.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with mostly everything both of you said.
It kind of reminds me what Mark was just saying about like, yeah, they've got the giant list of excuses. It reminds me of the like Twitch copy pasta, which is just like, Team Liquid is fantastic. Just needs to work on communication, map awareness, laning, vision control, CSing, poking, landing skill shots, objective control, early game, mid game, late game, ganking, and getting kills.
Yeah.
No, I mean, and they had, they had a bunch of excuses, and so I think what it was like TL really just lost their identity, is what I would probably say. Last split they went from bot focused to now, and I think Chat had talked about this on his podcast that he posted today.
No, we don't need to talk about that podcast.
What is it called? I actually haven't heard
JLXP.
I don't.
P0lly's a mainstay there. If you like P0lly, make sure to check that out. I've been there like 7 times.
I think that's more episodes than he has, but okay.
I thought he brought up some a good point where I don't know if a lot of people just thought with Broxley coming in it would just be plug and play, but it was more so like they're trying to change their play style. Instead of being like a bot focused team, now they're playing towards mid synergy, and going with three weeks of full team practicing together, how successful would that be? I know there's like 5. You're looking at 5 of the best players probably in LCS and NA.
I think the problem for me is there's always a good excuse, and like I feel like a good team could have made playoffs. Like if they were a good team, they could have had all these issues and still made playoffs. And instead they got 9th.
Do you see Jack's?
Jack says, I didn't know lack of drive was a playstyle.
The lack of playstyle points, it just chime in a little bit, because some people are always like, what does that mean? Like look at their champ pools. And I think having wide champ pools is fine. But their most played champ was Zoe with 6, and then Braum with 5, and then everything else is like pretty spread out. And it didn't feel like they really had things that they liked to play on. The same way Bjergsen won 6 games on Syndra, and Kabe won, I think it was like 6-1 on Zaya, and Cloud9 played 7 Gragas games, 7 Lee Sin games, and 6 Aphelios. And like you have a couple more staples of what you're building around. And I think to Pr0lly's point, when people are always confused about, identity is a vague term, but I think a lot of people inherently understand what we mean. But specifically something like that, where I'm like, what's the average TL draft? What do I know that they prioritize? Ornn and Zoe, maybe, I don't know. You know, like I don't know what their priorities are when, as much as when I look at other teams or something.
Yeah, and just to follow up on a couple of topics, I do think the drafts were pretty bad, but I don't know if that warrants a coaching staff change. And then the other part, yeah, like I think it was Travis that brought up TSM and their internal issues. I don't think they have, and I don't know if any other player is as straightforward as Doublelift is in his interviews, and even like I think there was an article as well, or open about what's going on with like internally.
You just think Peter's more likely to air the dirty laundry than players on other teams? I would agree with that.
Yeah,
I would agree with that, but I would also say his tendency to do that right now is not a good sign, right? Because anytime a player is doing that, it's not going to improve team morale, and it's not going to help. And so I think the fact that he's doing that so freely is maybe not a good sign for TL. I'd say that about any player.
Yeah, and I'll agree to that, but I also think that him taking responsibility with the lack of motivation also showed that he was trying to end his team not trusting him. I think he was trying to take responsibility as well for the role that he played with the disaster season.
Or he saw the PR backlash. Who knows? Who knows?
Anyway, thanks so much for the call. Anything you want to say before we move on to the next caller?
I just want to shout out Team Liquid. Been a fan since like season 2, back when Mark was on the team, and you know, I know they'll come back summer split. So go Team Liquid.
Thanks so much for the call. And on to our next. What were you saying? Did you pull?
It was season 4. But
did you pull another caller, Mark?
What was season 4?
He kept. I don't know what he's doing. He keeps leaving. He's been in there for like 30 minutes.
This is why I worried. We only have 30 minutes.
Well, let people. We could have moved on so much faster. You're the jockey. You're the one in control. You know, you want to move us along.
I'm trying to move on.
Wait, does that mean we're the horse or we're the carrot?
You left. Sir Cattle, thank you for the 30 months. I already shouted you out. Jules Super HD, Overture 2112, K Wolf 55, 100 Talk Pod, which is I think the 100 Thieves podcast. People can go check out. Subbed, I think only because PapaSmithy was on. So shout out to him for landing us that extra sub. Raging Pianist, thank you for the 13 months. Hope you're calm.
Travis, we have the caller here. What are you doing? We only have 30 minutes left.
97.
Travis,
thank you for the 2 months in a row. And then I Hate Snarf, thank you for the 18 months.
Travis,
that is sick. Oh, it looks like the caller's here. Just call me the kid. Where are you calling from?
Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland. How's it going in Cleveland?
I'm doing okay.
Doing okay. Okay. Well, what do you want to talk about on the show?
I just want to throw here. I think Someday deserves MVP out of anyone. I mean, you could put like Blabber and like Niski out there, but you put any half decent player, you know, in those roles, the team still wins almost every game. And then like you look at like 100 Thieves, they're like 4-6, the same as Liquid in like week 5. And then, you know, somebody just starts popping off. I mean, good players could be MVPs, but it's the most valuable player. You put any other top laner in 100 Thieves topside, they're going to be 9th place.
Well, there's another team already in 9th place. I don't know if
hard to get below them.
So talking about Someday though, Mark or Pr0lly, will he be in content? Is he another front runner, Pr0lly?
Well, one thing I do want to say though is I think if you replace Someday on 100 Thieves, I think their first half of the split they probably would have picked up half of the wins, but the second half 100 Thieves have looked much more like a cohesive team, and it's not like only the Someday show. He's definitely like a trump card where he's just like gonna win. You have to deal with him. you can't just have a weak matchup top, or you can't like ignore top lane because you'll smash them. But I would say like 100 Thieves would not be an 8th place or 9th place team like that drastically if you change them for someone good top lane too. I mean, if you give them a terrible top laner, probably, but
Yeah, I mean, I think the second best top or best top, depending on, I don't know where people are landing on this, is probably Licorice, and he's really good. He's a really flexible player. By all accounts of everything I've ever heard and seen from Licorice, he's a really, really great guy as well as being a great player, and so he would probably slot in, and it would be great on 100 Thieves. Not saying they'd be better, but like I don't think it's this insane drop off. I think that Lucian game that Someday won is like maybe one you don't get with Licorice or something. But I definitely think in terms of people not on C9, he's a front runner. If you like that term, Travis. I don't know if other people feel that way, but he's probably the number one guy not on C9 in the MVP discussion.
Does he have a chance?
I don't think he has a chance. Personally. I don't know if Pr0lly feels different.
I mean, I would guess people are going to vote C9 MVP. I mean, usually the MVP is like the best player on the best team a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I feel like he probably wouldn't get it out of the majority votes. But yeah, I agree with Mark. Like outside of C9, he's definitely one of the most impactful players on a team.
Yeah, people like to bring up like Arrow and some of the other Rush as like the dark horse MVPs, but that's not usually in 17-1 splits. Like when it's the 17-1 splits, the MVP is on that team for sure. It was Doublelift right in 2016 summer and Goonie or Rainover in 2016 spring. So I think when you get to that level of dominance, it becomes pretty much on the best place team. I think otherwise, if C9 was like 14-4 and Someday had this performance, you might be having a lot closer to putting Someday over a lot of these other people, at least for me. But when it's this insane, it's a little bit harder of a sell.
Do you have any rebuttal? Anything you want to claim for in defense of Someday?
No, I mean, if you guys think that I don't get to vote, you guys get to vote. And if you guys are saying that the best player on the best team gets the MVP, then yeah, I'd probably say Blabber too, but I just never thought that was the definition of MVP.
Oh, no. I'm just saying the majority of votes, because it's like, I don't know how many votes they get. It's like probably over 100 or more.
Yeah, I mean, it's a ton for sure.
It's a ton of votes coming in, and I would say like that's a pretty easy metric that I would say people follow.
I mean, it's at least where you start the conversation, right?
Yeah.
It's such an easy place to be like, well, who's the best player on the best team, or even just who's the best player of this split? Who do you jump out as like, this guy looked really great? And it's usually people on C9 who are like, that guy looked really great. They went 17-1. Jizuke is someone I see a lot of other people saying as the other person, and I kind of agree with that one as well. He did feel like he hard carried EG in some games, and also even in the back half of the split continued to hard carry without some of the throws that he had. But I think he had a couple too many solo missions to stand out.
He's an explorer.
Yeah, he's an adventurous guy. I'll give him that. Far. But I think he'll probably end up on one of the all-pro teams because Shizuke was really good.
Yeah.
Hey, call me the kid. Thanks so much for the call. Anything you want to say before I move on to the next caller?
Sure. I'll just comment. I think Liquid's fine. I think they just got tilted. Like, all their players are super good. I think they just got tilted because they blew up something at work by removing Xmete. And then Brox was like, oh, I can't play because, I mean, it's not his fault, obviously, but yeah, they just got tilted and like, double us like, spring doesn't matter. And yeah, they just got tilted. I think they'll be fine.
I'm just going to say, not to open this can of worms back up, but I should have said it last time. I think if TL doesn't make at least some sort of change somewhere, they don't make playoffs next split.
Ooh, they make playoffs.
Just call me the kid. Thanks so much for the call, and we'll catch you next time.
Have a good one.
All right, you want to move on to the next caller?
Yeah.
All right. 1997. Oh, we said got that. Pukes, thank you for the Prime, and H2 Ombre, thank you for the 7 months. By the way, everyone, after the stream, we're going to be doing something that's going to help me out a ton. I hope you guys can support it. With a stream for a game called Raid Shadow Legends. If you do exclamation
Travis,
mark-
this
yes. Hi.
sorry, this one will make you happy.
Okay. Zen,
Hi,
welcome to the show. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Blacksburg, Virginia.
What do you want to talk about?
I was just thinking about how, with the kind of falling out of a lot of people from TL and what happened with TSM fans after they stopped winning all the time, is when these big teams start losing again, a lot of the kind of bandwagoners disperse, and EG could be a really good place for a lot of these people. They're looking for like a winning team to support because they have a lot of entertaining like players and potential for good like branding and content.
Is this what you said it was going to make me happy, Mark?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
work
smile
for
on your
EG.
face.
All right. Okay, here's what I'll say that I do like about this take. I think it is always good. Like I did not like normally whatever team Peter's on, at least for like the last 4+ years, is like the most popular team in the league. And I don't usually like how popular that team is. I think it is better for the scene when we have fans spread out more evenly across different teams. And so if the argument here is we will like lose some of the TL bandwagoners that were only there because they were winning, theoretically, don't they just go to C9 Zen? But, besides that, I think if they go to other teams, EG included, that could be good.
Yeah, the one thing about like C9, I feel like I don't know. I'm not reading everyone else's mind here, but I feel like C9 is almost at like I don't know terminal mass of their fans. At least in this incarnation, because although they're really good, they don't really have like the big charismatic players. I know like Sneaky was a big reason why people stuck around because he was from that old school C9 where they were like the big meme squad, and now they're like professional. And sometimes Niski will like be extra, but otherwise they're not like super big memers or whatever. But that's why people liked old school C9. But I think this new EG has like to use like pro wrestling terms, they have like the baby face in like Sven Skaren and
Hazel?
support Zazel. That everyone like thinks they're cool guys and likes to watch them play, and they like play standard in a LCS league. And then Jizuke is kind of the heel that everyone likes. Like they're glad they're winning, but it's aggravating to watch because he's either going to like blow the whole game up or people are going to love him. But yeah,
I mean, I do hope that Jizuke gets more North American fans because I think he is a great, hilarious,
I think he will.
bombastic personality, and I hope that like I need more interesting players to interview and for people to care about, and we've been losing a lot of them and replacing them with players that are not always the most charismatic. I think Jizuke is a player who I would love to see become more popular in North America.
I don't know, man. You had me a little bit with this take, but then the reasoning kind of fell apart for me because you pointed at C9. Like I like these teams are falling from grace. TSM's 5th now again. They're not killing it. TL's falling apart. Someone's got to pick up their fans. And then you pointed to C9 players, and like they're all pretty, not all, a fair amount of them are pretty young. Both. At this point, Licorice is not in his 3rd year, I think, but Vulcan's in his 2nd. They're pretty outgoing for the most part. Licorice, Niski, even Blabber. I don't think he's quite media ready compared to the other people on his team, but he's still like a pretty high energy guy from what I can tell. So like, and they're winning by a significant amount, which is the best way. So like, not the best comparison because
I was just thinking of a way of making it like alternative was the only thing.
Yeah, I think EG players are not that like Jizuke, Travis's point is a good one, but Kumo is not a good interview. And then Sven and Zazel and Bang have been around forever. Bang's pretty funny, and I like Bang, but like, I don't know.
Sven is very nice,
Yeah.
polite, professional. I think he doesn't meme as much as when he did on C9. Zazel, I love interviewing Zazel because his interviews are so long, like thoughtful, and like he always has like a great answer to any question you ask him, which is more than I can say for like half the players in the LCS. Is they'll just give you like a very short answer or whatever. Whereas
Nice guys finish last, Travis, in LCS Twitter collection.
Well, these are the evil guys. So I definitely, I wouldn't say so far as to say like EG players are boring or anything like that. I do agree Kumo is shy and quiet, but I think that the other players are a little bit. I disagree with the idea that like they should go to EG because they can't go to C9 as fans, like as if EG's got a more compelling lineup of players to really rally around, unless you're like a huge Jizuke fan or something. But I do think that like if you are a TL fan or a fan who doesn't want to go be a fan of C9 because maybe you've just never been a fan of C9 or you just whatever, you don't like how aggressive Jack is on Twitter. EG is probably like a pretty good opportunity for you.
I think EG is definitely gonna pick up a lot of steam going into playoffs. Like the way Jizuke has been playing, like it's really fun to watch. Like not only is he playing well, but it's like an exciting well. Like he's not playing a very calm game. And then on the back half or the outside of game aspect is like that guy is so sweet and so funny and so goofy. So he's like really fun to hear talk about the game too. I mean, he like talks really fast and has European accent and stuff like that. Like there's just too many like positives to him right now. I think if he kept playing poorly, it'd be an issue, but I think he's gonna get a lot more attention coming into playoffs.
I think he's like old school TSM Wild Turtle, where he's like, he's going to flash forward and either make or break the game, and it's entertaining to watch for that. But he's also like, he's Wild Turtle outside of the game, and people are going to like him to watch him stream or just in content. And I think their like YouTube channel has like in the last month or so has really started to pick up on posting stuff about them. And I think they have a good chance to like, if they do well in this playoff run, have a platform to start, really putting out a lot more league content.
I was a big fan of the cinematography on the Animal Crossing unboxing video that they had on their YouTube channel. No, I mean, I think we talked about EG as a brand before the start of the split, and I think that was an episode I think we had Kelby on. And I was a big fan of the fact, in the same way that we were fans of FlyQuest making their play, like EG making the evil play. I don't think they have done as good of a job as they could have with that. And you certainly haven't seen it like, I kind of expected more in certain areas. And so I don't think they've fully delivered in that. But I do think that now that they are performing really well, they have an opportunity to take the reins a little bit on their story and their content stuff, and so hopefully we see that happen.
Yeah, I hope they just kind of ditch some of the forced evil thing. I think it's a fine tagline, live evil, but I think if you just want to sit Jizuke down in front of a shitty American Italian food and have him roast it, like that's fine.
Well, first off, that's a little evil.
I'd watch that.
In and of itself.
Sure,
right?
but you don't need to be like, live evil, roast Italian. You just could do it, you just have fun.
I think I would love to see a Jizuke food review, Italian food review.
Take him to Olive Garden.
I did know you say that, but I made that joke in an interview I did with him where I was like, he should. I said, have you tried Olive Garden? He's like, Olive Garden, and I was like, yeah. Do you like unlimited breadsticks? He's like, breadsticks, and I was like, well, they're kind of like rolls but long. I think.
Does he understand English?
I think a Jizuke
sticks of bread.
I think a Jizuke. I mean, I don't think breadsticks is like an Italian thing, even though maybe in America we think it is. I don't know, but I've never been to Italy. But I do think Jizuke reviewing Italian food would be really good. But EG won't make that content because They're cowards. I'm gonna say it right now. They won't make the content that I think they should make.
All right, Kat. Yeah, you're trying to make not sound like you're biased. Let's get on to the next caller.
So I'm just trying not to simp out, Mark. Okay, that's all I'm trying to do right now.
Twitch chat.
Twitch chat said I was simping out a ton, and I gotta fight back against the simping.
Okay.
Oh, anyway, Zed, any final thoughts before we move on to our next caller?
Just stay healthy, people.
Yeah.
Hey, good. That's a good shout out.
Thanks. Have a good one.
Bye.
All right, we got 2 more callers to go. As I was saying before, we're doing a thing for Raid Shadow Legends. Please, right now we're at 1 out of 200. All I'm asking is, the goal is 200, and if we get to 300, they gift 100 subs. Hero 1 is here. Hero 1, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Kingsport, Tennessee.
Tennessee. What do you want to talk about on the show?
I think that CLG is going to have to blow up both the roster and the management. Otherwise, they're just going to be dead in the water. Because I know that you've talked about it before, but there's no social media reach. Their Twitter, no one on their team streams. We haven't been in the world since 2016.
This is what we're doing, Mark. We got to kick CLG some more.
No, I mean I've been a CLG fan since 2013. I love CLG.
No, I know. I'm just teasing because I it's so funny because I just feel like it's good to have this conversation because they now are finally in 10th place. I think their academy.
I mean, we're not
going
to talk about them for another 7 weeks. I figure we give them a send off.
Yeah. Well, unless they.
Not a very nice send off.
Exactly. Well, I was just read their Twitter yesterday when they had we had our last match and they had their Twitter hey, we're gonna come back next split and do fine, and then every single reply was what fans? What fans?
Wait, really? That was the reply on their Twitter?
Yeah, people were just saying, "What fans? What fans are you talking about?"
So I'm not the one making this negative. Okay, I thought we just had a send off for CLG. We said, hey. I don't think they need to blow everything up. Okay.
Well, no, I mean, for instance, I know that Travis has talked about before, MSG is kind of faceless. There is no, who's the leader? Since Hotshot has been completely gone, almost. So anything that goes wrong, there's no accountability, it seems.
I know Travis's take on this. He thinks CLG is a sinking ship or something. So I want to hear what Pr0lly's thoughts are. What should CLG do?
I mean, mine are all going to be gameplay related. Because I have no opinion on the outside, front office, back office, whatever the hell you guys talk about.
What do you blow up gameplay wise, or what would you keep? What would you sell?
Well, Mark, if I was at CLG, I would know a lot more about what's going on over there than I do right now. That's my take.
Okay.
Yeah.
First of all, you said, as the GM, what would you do? And I'm well, I'd be a pretty shitty GM. Mark is just asking what I would do. And as an outsider, I'm very comfortable giving my outside opinion.
Okay.
Because I'm not the GM of CLG.
Give your outside opinion.
All right. Outside opinion, I'd probably slap Wiggly a few times and see what's up.
Okay.
I think his last summer was really good. And I have no clue why this spring he's just been playing so poorly this whole time. I had a lot of hopes for him, so him playing poorly, I'm well, I beat it out of him. What happened? Ruin, I think I'm not super sold on still. I think he didn't play that well last year, and he's taking an import slot. I don't see his big improvement, so I think Ruin would be a big question mark for me if I would want to keep it. Pillbuster did look good, and he seems like he has a different attitude coming into this to CLG at the end. I see your boxers, Mark.
I know, Mark just flashing us his underwear. We're at TOS, please, everybody. Could I get some TOS on the chat?
What's TOS?
Terms of service?
Terms of service.
Mark flashing boxers.
Oh, I thought it was picking my cat up.
You picked up the cat, and then but we could see your boxers hanging out down your shorts.
Those are some MeUndies. Let's get a sponsorship for MeUndies.
I mean, I wish I could. I spent so many hundreds
time.
of dollars. Not hundreds. I spent a lot of money. Their underwear is expensive. All right. Pr0lly, continue.
Okay, so yeah, other than those, the top side, I think bot lane has been pretty underwhelming, and honestly, I just expect a lot more. They brought Smoothie in for communication issues, which really scares me, because that tells me either Wiggly's not communicating enough, or mid, or top, someone isn't doing their job, so Smoothie was supposed to come in to like be 1.5 people or something like that. So I really don't like that kind of strategy of building a roster. Like everyone has to do their job properly. No one can be like understaffed when it comes into fundamentals of how to play the game. Everyone has to be a full person. So yeah, I would say like 3, maybe 3 out of 5 I would look to see what the options were. But yeah, during this Corona outbreak, your options are kind of limited and you can't have face-to-face like practice or anything like that. So trying out people would be purely online. So I feel like they're in a pretty rough spot to make changes in general, just based on what's happening right now too.
I had to save my cat. Who are your two, Pobe and Wiggly?
I'd say Pobe and then figure out what's going on with Wiggly. Because if it's just because I think he played really, really bad all split, but I think last summer I was a pretty big fan of how he played, like early game and team fights. So
Yeah.
I said,
two of his 3 splits were like he was terrible in his first split and this split.
What did you say?
He's saying he was terrible in 2 out of 3 of his splits.
Yeah.
That wasn't good in spring. I think that's fair, but those are his only 3 splits. Like, there's plenty of players who don't peak in their first 3 splits. Like Khan, that's a pretty good player. Or Smeb. Maybe I'm thinking Smeb. I think Khan actually peaked after a little bit later than that too. There's a number of players.
I mean, Stixay peaked pretty quickly. Like his best split was always his first one, right?
Yeah,
and so, that's a little overhyped, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean the point stands. Like each player's career is different. At least like
second place, America's team.
We've seen Wiggly have sparks, so I totally understand what Pr0lly's saying. I think Rune's someone that has looked good enough for me in this current weird environment that I probably couldn't find a significant upgrade for him. And he has moments where he looks good. I was never bought in on the 3rd all-pro team for him last summer, but I also don't think he clearly can sometimes hard carry games. He's done it a couple. I think the team is just bad right now. And I think what you're saying about bot lane, like those are players who have played for a fair amount of years now, going on 4 for most of them. And so it's not an upward trajectory. They did play pretty well with Bio in spring, so I'm also not 100% sure. But those bot and maybe jungle and top, Cobalt or even, I don't know. They're all up for me. But I totally agree. I think what Pr0lly said was about the communication was the most interesting thing. Just you can't have a player who's supposed to come in and do things for people. Yeah. Like if your mid sucks at vision control, it's not like you can just pick up a jungler to do that the whole time, because that's going to come at the cost of something else.
I did want to mention that, like, so CLG only has Song and they have 1 analyst and then Weldon. That's it in terms of, coaching.
They've got some people behind the scenes for sure, and I don't believe any staff is that shallow at this point.
I've got some academy players that are lights out good. $, $, $, $, $, $, $. Jack's hoping to make some money during the break.
Yeah.
Well, if anyone can give me some hope about CLG and how they're not going to just, die into the fade away, that'd be great.
I have no hope for you.
I can't sell you that. Jack can sell you some players. He can't sell you that.
I just feel so bad for anybody at CLG, like staff, players, etc., because it's just got to be so depressing. I mean, like, it's a bad split for TL, 9th place, like expectations so high, but when you're tweeting like, we're going to try to do this, be better for the fans next year, and all the replies are, or next split, and all the replies are what fans, like, oh god, that's such a bad environment to be like working in. I don't know.
I felt so bad just reading it.
CLG needs a reboot, for sure. Hero One, thanks so much for the call. Anything you want to say before we move on to the next caller?
No, thank you for having me on, and shout out to Alienware.
Yeah. Bragus in the chat right now says, hi guys. We're talking about academy players.
What's up, Bragus?
Yeah. All right. We got one more caller. Bragus has to be careful. He's not breaking any rules right now.
Oh,
Soul Hunter, where are you calling from?
Egypt, Alexandria, Egypt.
Wow, Egypt.
Damn.
That's sick. I think our only international caller of the show.
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about on the show?
DSM and how they are really, really one-dimensional. they only can play through top lane. How Dardak is really insanely good jungler early, but man, he's so bad mid and late game. And how Bjergsen just can play anything besides Syndra. And even if you get advantage on any other champion, like the game versus CLG when he played Irelia, he played really good and got fed in the early 15-20 minutes. Then after this, we didn't see him in any fight. He didn't do anything for the next 20 minutes till the last fight when he get both their mid and AD carry and get a triple kill and finish the game. Also, their bot lane isn't that guaranteed late game winning idea people was talking about before the season started.
I love that, I think TSM tries to position itself as a global brand, and they are such a global brand that somebody will call from Egypt into a show in the middle of the night to a show taking place in LA just to
It's
shit on TSM.
It's 7 a.m. in Egypt right now.
Morning.
It's not middle of the night, it's the start of the morning.
Hey, listen, with my sleep schedule, 7 a.m. is the middle of the night. But let me tell you, though, I absolutely love that we have a caller from Egypt calling in to shit on TSM. That's so great. All right.
Yeah, and the line.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. It's tough. I still see them beat C9 in some of their other games, and I'm like, hey, cats are being crazy. I don't know if you heard that.
Hey,
did you hear the cats?
I didn't hear the cats. I don't want to hear the cats. Give me your fucking TSM take, Mark.
All right, my take is that they have a really high ceiling, and it's hard to completely dismiss it from my head, but I am very confused at why they've been so inconsistent, and the only thing I've been saying all split long is just draft-related things, but I feel like it has to be more than that, because I don't know why you would be this inconsistent and draft-dependent. So I see what the caller's saying. I think the thing I'm most disappointed about a little bit is their bot lane. I was hoping for a little bit more out of Kabe and Bio, but they seem pretty... I don't think they're bad by any means. I don't see them like fucking up lanes or anything like that, but I also don't really see them getting many advantages for their team. And I understand they're not the focal point, but it's not like NA is this like barn burner region where they can't just sometimes fuck people up 2v2.
I just like the thing that confuses me so much about TSM was I feel like a couple of weeks ago it was like, yeah, these guys are definitely the second best team in the league, and then like they just fall off a cliff.
They're zero. Let me double check this. I think they're 0-3 in their last 3 games.
Yeah, there's 0-3 in the last 3 games, and all of the last 3 games, they used to win through top lane, through broken. That's everybody knows this. Everybody knows how they're gonna play the game. But when you watch the last 3 games, each and every one of the 3 teams had a tank top Oron. The 3 games they played on top. Even I guess first game versus Mortals, I think Broken Blade played Gangplank and got a kill early. But after Oren get level 10 or level 11, you're not gonna kill him anymore. So you have to play through other lane, which they couldn't do through mid, through bot, through anything. Plus, when Mark just said about Kobe and Bifrost, they are really good. But the problem is when you compare them to someone like Cody Sun in his last 5 games, or someone like Bang, and I'm not talking even about Cloud9, like they are in another hand, in another way, but Bang and Cody Sun are playing so much better. Their bot lane, when you reach a 40-minute game or when you reach a 35-minute game, you know that they're gonna have a really good fight. They're gonna have a really good team fight. They know how to position, they know how to get kills, how to move up and down. But now when you watch Kobe, he gets caught a couple of times. He doesn't do what you expect of him damage, as in sort of damage.
Yeah, I mean, I forget which game. I think it was against FlyQuest when he was playing against Syndra. He was a Felios. He got one shot once in the mid lane because he stepped too far forward, and he instantly bought MR and then played the whole rest of the game really scared. And that was kind of the moment where I was like, "Ooh, I don't know if I like what I'm seeing right now at a C9's bot or TSM's bot lane." And I don't think I actually saw anything that changed my opinion on that. So, I mean, I'm kind of on the same page as the caller. I think I'm still a little bit more positive because like we were talking about earlier about fixable problems and stuff, like so much feels draft dependent. Like you're highlighting they gave up Ornn 3 times in a row in their losses, and I'm like, well, you could not do that. You could ban it. What does it look like when you do that? He's like, Ornn is so clearly the only good tank top lane. That if you struggle against tank top lanes, like going to playoffs, like just fucking ban it. So like some of these things feel really fixable.
No, I'd say I agree. They are very one-dimensional, but I don't think it's a terrible thing. I do remember when like C9 first picked up Licorice, they were very one-dimensional, where they're only playing through Licorice, and they eventually learned more and more. So I'd say like if that's your baseline start in Spring Split, this is how you're gonna play. I'm fine with that because at least you have something. And I think it does fit. Like they picked up Kabe and Biofrost. I don't think either of them are like resource hogs where they're gonna call like come bot lane and stuff like that. So I think it kind of fits the team a bit by having that bot lane. So hopefully in summer though they become a bit more like dynamic with their playstyle. But I think so far being one dimensional is okay. I will say Kabe hasn't been super hard carry. He's always been a good team fighter. But I have been listening to the TSM listen-ins that they have. And one thing that makes me really curious is I feel like he's talking a lot. Like shot calling more than I would expect an AD carry to. Like the role on the team for communication. So when you say like, yeah, you don't think Dardoch's mid late game is that strong, I think maybe that's part of it. Is like Kabe is like kind of stepping into the role because no one else is taking it. That's my assumption at least. And he's fulfilling this, hey, we should go here, let's do this, hey, let's back off. And if you're a jungler support and you're not the one making that call yourself, there's going to be some kind of brain lag where you have to hear the information and process it and then make the right choice. So I'm not too surprised when I heard those listen-ins. Obviously, it's not the whole picture. But, I mean, I'm very curious why they're very inconsistent. And I would have to say it's, I don't know. I think they're maybe shot calling is not on the right role right now. Not sure.
Yeah, that would make sense. Just even going back as far as, I mean, it's a really long time ago, but like their first Immortals loss and some of their other ones, even in this back 3 games where games stall out and you kind of don't see confident engages if it's not like Broken Blade who's able to. I think Broken Blade seems to be like the only one who's confident about finding good engages, and it's limited to like Set and maybe a couple, like maybe Dardoch on J4 or a couple other picks, but it does feel pretty limited on what they feel good in fights.
Hey Soul, just out of curiosity, are you a TSM fan?
Yeah, and I'm gonna get flamed as hell for this thing.
That's what I love. I can always tell when it's a TSM fan because they call in with the most angry TSM takes. They're always the most disappointed. And
to be fair,
I think that's it is a good take. I like the passion.
It is.
He got a lot of props from the Twitch chat. They really liked how engaged and passionate he was.
No,
so.
it's good. I mean, I'm not trying to flame him. I just like as soon as he started his take on like his frustrations with the team, I immediately knew that he was a TSM fan because only the TSM fans ever feel that frustrated.
Oh yeah, one thing we didn't mention, or neither me and Mark mentioned, is Bjergsen hasn't been that hot this split. Other than Syndra.
No, I kind of brought this up, I think, halfway through the split where we were talking about ranking. Maybe it was Mark. Yeah. Wait, I think Mark and I talked about it over lunch back before.
Yeah, I'm talking about here.
He meant today.
Yeah,
and he's
today.
Actually watching the show.
Not in the history of your life.
No, I know. I was just once.
I was just saying, like,
in a previous episode, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, he had a zillion game.
I was just.
He's had.
He got one game.
I think his Aurelia game was decent when it was Aurelia set and they were diving backline. That was pretty good. Like he's clearly still good, even on other champs. But he's definitely there's games where it feels like he's invisible, which is just not what you want to hear about Bjergsen.
I was just gonna say that it was a flashback to a conversation I had with Mark, and I thought,
here, Dana, you say Aurelia, Azir, and Zillion. Those are 3 games other than his Syndra games that he played well. Like
we can hear you, Travis. We're just trying to not talk about some fucking lunch conversation.
But for Bjergsen's like stature of what we expect out of him, it needs to be 12 out of 18 games that he's playing very well in. I'd say is like the probably low end of what I would expect out of him. And I'd say we don't get 12.
one of the Azir games, the one they won, I saw the first team fight when he got a Vintek. It was really, really good. But actually, it was really, really good from Dardak and Blade.
Yeah.
They had a really good engage and really good Jarvan EQR, which made this meta pretty damn easy for him. But the next two fights, he actually was playing really bad. So there is one behind the Baron bush. He stood for like 1 minute, didn't know how to engage if he could engage or not. He was just waiting on a Atrox R, on Jarvan R, and he was just watching. He doesn't know if he gonna engage or not.
Yeah.
So I felt like for someone like Gregson, for a team like TSM, when you talk about TSM, you think of Gregson, and when you watch the way they play now, you feel like no, if as you just said, if Broken Bay plays well, they're gonna play well because they're gonna have a real engage in the mid and late game. But if Broken Bay didn't play well, they're not gonna win.
Yeah,
Gregson
I mean,
isn't this decisive anymore.
yeah, I don't think he's, like I said, I don't think he's bad. I think he's still really good. It's just a lot of the drafts too have been weirder drafts. But you know, stuff like his Diana, his Renekton, Maokai. You know, he's had some games where I'm looking back at these and I'm remembering them, and I'm not very impressed. Like a LeBlanc game, a Zillion game. Some of these, yeah, I think the point's fair. You know, he's had great games on a number of champions. I don't think Bjergsen has a champion pool problem. I think the team has a problem making things happen off certain picks.
Well, do you have anything you would like to add from Egypt for us?
Get a cat, man. Just get a cat. If I can share my my camera right now, my cat.
Wait, sorry, what's that?
Get
He
a
wants to show his
Get a
cat.
cat.
I
won't show
don't
my
have a
cat
way to
like
take your
Mark do.
camera because we're in this call. Do you have a picture you could send of the cat?
I'll try. I'll try.
Tweet at Travis Gafford, cat for Kobe, and show a picture of your cat. If everyone has cats who's watching,
Actually,
right now,
I retweeted
1,000.
at him cat for Kobe before, but it doesn't seem like I want to listen to this.
I think the
tweet
problem is there's
thing.
not enough evidence that cats are great. So he needs pictures of your cats tweeted at him. So please, anyone watching on YouTube after this or just right now, feel free to tweet at Travis Gafford, cat for Kobe.
Well, I don't need that. Thank you though for the suggestion. Thanks so much for the call. It's been really cool to have you on, and I always appreciate a good TSM to take to close out the show.
Thank you.
Everyone. Okay.
The only thing I feel like we missed talking about a little bit was Golden Guardians. Luckily,
yeah.
they're in playoff, so we'll get another chance. So I don't feel quite as bad. But sixth place, when I think most people were expecting to be 10th, is pretty impressive, and they had a really hot end to get there. So just want to give a little head tap to Golden Guardians.
And they went through a roster swap too.
Yeah.
I agree, and I think like the storyline of them getting into playoffs where you needed everything to align. It's interesting that there needed to be a lot of things to align to create playoff opportunities for Golden Guardians and TL to make it through, and Golden Guardians was able to pull it out, and TL wasn't when offered basically the same opportunity. So
it was actually way easier for TL too. Like Golden Guardians had to 3-0 the weekend. I think TL just needed to get one to even get into the tiebreaker conversation.
Yeah.
So it's pretty tragic.
did you see Hunter's tweet about with Golden Guardians is a 10th place team, the SpongeBob team? I thought it was pretty good.
I don't think I saw it, but
He had his little victory lap. Good news,
for
by
him.
the way. This whole show, I have been embarrassed because nobody had signed up, I thought, for the Raid Shadow Legends thing. I found out there was an issue with my widget. We're actually at 15 out of 200 instead of 1 out of 200. Thank God. Mark,
so
you have anything you want to shout out, plug here at the end?
you're up to a massive 15 instead of 1 out of 200. What happens if I type
15 times more?
what happens if I type exclamation point raid?
You get a link to download the game and play it.
Okay, do I have to click it? Or do I just need to do
You have to play it and then open up and get through the tutorial for your name will show up on the screen. I feel bad for the 15 people who didn't get their names up on the screen. I will request with my contacts over there.
Oh, so I actually to increase your number is what I was trying to figure out. I can't just type !raid. I need to actually go through all this.
Mark, this is a sponsored stream. Do not say the next sentence that I think you want to say.
I'm just asking. I'm trying to help you out. I'm trying to figure out what you need to do.
You have to do the tutorial to do it, which is very easy and it's free to play. So you just download the program.
I'll do it right now.
And you play.
I'll actually leave the show and do it right now.
Okay, thank God. Pr0lly.
Bye, Mark.
Anything you got coming down the pipeline? Anything you want to shout out?
No, I want to shout out the currently on hiatus Monday Night League cast. Miss you guys. Except for the guy that's next to me usually.
Is it on hiatus?
And then,
that shit is dead, I think.
Well, oh yeah, I guess it's over, right?
We don't know.
You
get Riot in their announcement. They're like, "Yeah, we're going online. Everything's great. Everything's cool." Monday Night League is now not a thing. It's Saturdays and Sundays. Tune in.
It's so much more difficult to add one more day of this online broadcast when there's so many things that can go wrong. So yeah, I actually wanted to shout out the LCS broadcasting team because making it as easy as it is for us to broadcast LCS from the comfort of our rooms, our very plain rooms, but still our rooms is I don't know, pretty great, and it's pretty awesome to be a part of it.
F in the chat for Monday Night League because
we don't know it's dead yet. All right. Hopefully it's not.
Travis.
And hopefully we get some more Gabby on the broadcast.
Yeah. Hey, don't put that in my box.
My raid widget isn't showing. They're refreshing it so that people's names can pop up on the stream, but it's not popping up.
I don't push it away. Travis, can we
end the show? Yes. I've got interviews coming up. Stay on the stream, please. I'm begging you. I need this. Stick around, watch me play Raid Shadow Legends. I'm just gonna be hanging out. We're gonna talk about all sorts of stuff. We can talk about TL sucking. We can do a bunch of stuff. But I feel bad that the widget's not working and the Raid folks are paying me money, so I just I need your support at this time. Either way, thanks everyone for watching. This will be Hotline League episode 116 in the can.